Tell me again.
The technological discoveries of the 20th century are as big as the discovery of fire for the primitive man.
Dad, do you remember when I was a little girl? I thought you were pregnant because you had such a belly. And you always said you regretted not being able to nurse us, your 7 children. Our favorite game was throwing ourselves on your belly like piglets, and you pretending to be the sow. I would embrace your enormous belly. Soft, round, warm, cuddly. If my dad were an animal, he would have been a seahorse. It's the male who gets pregnant. It's the male who takes care of the babies. My dad stayed mostly in bed. He stayed in bed all day long. He didn't want to waste energy. He saved it all for thinking. On his bed, he read, wrote, met his collaborators, drank espresso, edited films. Most of all, my father thought and thought and thought. He ate glucose pills to nourish his brain. On his head, he kept an ice bag to reduce the heat his brain produced by so much thinking. In spite of this, he sometimes got terrible migraines. My father was a genius, I think. But for some, he was a fool, a loser, a pain in the ass.
He has no regards for commercial success. His camera never moves. His films are so slow.
He shows us misery, and then he wants to charge us.
Reality is stronger, more extraordinary than anything our human mind can imagine. Artists revere their own imaginations. Narcissists. I am not an artist. Do you know where this artist's inspirations comes from?
Go to hell, Roberto. We are artists and revered for it. Selznick, bring the Italian up to speed.
Film is art. It comes from storytelling, theater, literature. The best films, in fact, have a strong narrative. Film should illustrate novels. That's the best entertainment, like my Gone with the Wind.
Novels, theater, letteratura. What about dreams, eh? My films are about dreams. It's what I achieved in 8.5.
You, Fellini, you and I were best friends. We worked together, and you betrayed me. Dreams, eh? Wet dreams.
Roberto, I've always called you Adam like the first man. You are indeed at the origin of modern cinema. Only you are so prudish. Sex, per esempio, embarrasses you, even though it is an important elemento of humanity.
Sex, dreams, suspense exist, but they're used by the film industry as distraction from the truth.
Bloody right. That's what films are for. To distract and entertain.
Before film, access to culture was limited only to those who could read and write. You don't need that for films. Films are accessible to anyone. Films will defeat ignorance in the world.
Oy vey, Roberto, you're so Italian, so melodramatic. Audiences want to be distracted. A bit of fun after a long day at the mill. People watch film to relax. and to be entertained.
Only entertained. Selznick, you don't believe that.
With that neorealism of yours, you brought a reality that was never seen before. Your films look so real, so authentic, like documentaries.
All my friends preferred Hollywood movies. Were my father's films ridiculous or sublime? Indeed, they're very slow, yet their simplicity and starkness moves me profoundly.
Angered at the industry's pursuit of profits, he declared, "Il cinema è morto, cinema is dead." A headline quickly responded, "Il cinema di Rossellini è morto, Rossellini's cinema is dead."
Lots of laughs about that one. I felt bad. I always felt like protecting my dad.
He was always fighting with the critics, sometimes ending up so exhausted, he would check himself into a clinic for stronger doses of glucose to ready himself for the next round of battles. At home, he took frequent naps, short little cat naps. They were necessary pauses for his active brain to regenerate, just like a weightlifter needs to take rests in between sets.
Suspense manipulates the audience. I want to make their hearts race, just like my heart raced when I was a baby. And my mother played peekaboo with me.
Chaplin, indeed your films capture the essence of life and address our conscience, which elevates men. You are an angel. Their film addressed the animal in us. Sex and fear don't define men. What allows us to take flights to higher ends is our conscience, our morality. Bravo, Chaplin. Bravo.
For God's sake, Roberto, you should have been a priest, not a filmmaker.
And you should have been a magician, Hicthcock. Your films might be fun, but nothing moral. Your suspense manipulates people's feelings. Illusions. Like masturbating instead of making love.
Mamma mia, Roberto!
My films were based on morality.
Morality? They were just slow, boring, poorly made.
I have to defend Roberto here. I know you directors. You always fight for your control. And one way to keep it is to keep expenses down. The bigger the budget, the bigger the commercial responsibility. Roberto keeps it simple to keep control.
Lower budget equals freedom of expression, Selznick. Anyone should be able to make films. The Hollywood system prevents that.
But they like
us.
Like is not the measure of right. My films addressed our conscience. For example, a poor woman in Rome was shot, and I went there to reconstruct how the event probably happened. I've always aimed to simply reconstruct what probably happened in order to understand. I don't know why my films were called neorealism. They should have been called probable films.
I fell in love with Roberto, even before I met him. Just watching his open city, I wrote to him, I wanted to work with him. We ended up doing more than that. 5 films and 3 children. It wasn't easy working with your father. He didn't like to use professional actors, so no one knew when to talk.
But Father used professional actors. What about the great Anna Magnani?
Oh, she was so different than I. And extraordinary. La Lupa, she was called, like the symbol of Rome. The she-wolf, the nurse Romulus and Remus, the founders of the city. La Lupa, the wolf. Anna was a wolf. I couldn't do what she did. She improvised, provoked reactions from the non-actors. She was bold. I'm shy.
Was Anna hurt when Father left her for you?
Yeah. Very. Too bad.
Some say that Father destroyed your career.
No. He didn't destroy my career. I destroyed his.
Why did you fall in love with Dad?
Because Roberto was so rare. No one was like him. Generous. Even with the money he didn't have. Strong. He gave me courage. Something I never had.
Why did you divorce?
Oh, because Roberto was always in turmoil. He needed a hurricane. Life was a battle, films were a battle. If he didn't have battle to fight, he was bored.
In the last few years of his life, Father decided to make films about science. He sent me to the Mediterranean Sea to fish for urchins. We would open them up in our house, take their eggs and sperms and mix them in a dish and put them under a microscope. This is what we saw. Once the egg is penetrated by the sperm, it divides, each part specializing and becoming a particular organ. So it is for men. Muscles, blood, bones. But in the open air of our makeshift laboratory, quickly everything died. So did my dad. My father died of a heart attack. Fast, just as he drove his Ferrari, Mama said. If I were to divide my life, the same way history is divided into BC and AD, I would choose the dividing line to be June 3rd, 1977, the day my father died. I was so sad. At the time, I was too young to know the power of dreams, fantasy, and memories.
Most believe that man is motivated by 2 impulses, fear and desire. I would add, the need to know. That is what my films are about. The quest for knowledge.
Dad, all that you said made so much sense. Yet, after 100 years of filmmaking, ignorance in the world is still undefeated. And your films, they're slowly being forgotten. Nothing of what you preached happened. No followers, no apostles.
Why is that up there? Why is it moving? Stop it. My father would call these camera moves immoral because they are pretentious and unnecessary. Calm down. Eye level, centered, in the perfectly simple Rossellini framing. Good.
I don't know if you're a genius or not, Dad. But I love you.